Hi, this is DL, and I'll be your instructor for Sigil Magic, the Power of Letters. This course is a third gate of sound practice for those of you familiar with my book, The Unknown Mother, A Magical Walk with the Goddess of Sound. The third gate being about the letters of our alphabet. There are, of course, 26 letters in the English alphabet, and these mere 16 letters are the building blocks of every label we could ever place on anything, and every book ever written in the English language is made of these same 26 letters. It's amazing. Letters represent units of sound, and much more than that. There are consonants, there are vowels, each with their own unique energetic signature and ability to carry and transmit energy. Working consciously with these units transforms the ordinary into the mystical. Today, we'll apply ourselves to the creation of sigils that are glyphs infused with magical intent. So let's begin. So what is a sigil and how does it work? According to Austin Osman Spare, who is the author of The Book of Pleasure, The Psychology of Ecstasy, quote, "Sigils are monograms of thought, symbolizing desire and giving it form that has the virtue of preventing any thought on that particular desire, escaping the detection of the ego so that it does not restrain or attach such desire to its own transitory images, memories, and worries, but allows it a free passage to the subconscious," end quote. Similar in nature to a spell or a talisman, a sigil is a glyph infused with magical properties that we give it, and also magical properties from assisting beings and realms when we ask for their support. In other words, we can ask for the support of our ancestors, angels, guides, or ascended masters when we create sigils. Symbols are very dear to us. They convey a message without verbiage. Some symbols have a negative connotation like the swastika, and others positive like the cross. Of course, everyone is going to respond to a symbol based on what they've been taught about it and what they've experienced. The swastika is a perfect example. In Tibet, this symbol is considered one of great fortune. It's painted over doorways and elsewhere and evokes something positive. Those of you with training in Reiki already understand the power of such symbols in bringing about powerful energetic shifts. The Chokurei and the Seiheki, for example, both used in the application of Reiki, are symbols imbued with great healing energies that can be invoked and used as needed. Sigils are just more personalized forms of such symbols, and generally only used once. Sigils are typically constructed using the letters of the alphabet, which in and of themselves have tremendous energy and potential, as I've already mentioned. When we combine these letters with imagination and intent, we are wielding the most powerful creative tools together. Since it bypasses the conscious mind and all the things that get in the way of manifesting our desires, such as conflicting intentions, limited programming, fear-based thoughts, and the like, the sigil is able to influence the subconscious mind and hence bring about the desired result purely as a matter of faith. Our efforts go into creating the sigil, but then we detach and we let universal forces answer our desire. In this way, we give less energy to trying, overthinking, forcing, or debating our own self-sabotaging thoughts. This occurs through the power of intent, which in many ways is comparable to the force of faith. If you ever wonder where your faith lies, just look around you. What do you see? The life you're living and the people in it reveal to you where you have chosen to store your faith. Reclaiming our faith from outdated patterns and habits takes years of very diligent practice, whatever the practice may be. It takes focus, it takes determination, self-awareness, and open-mindedness to begin to create intentionally with the full force of our faith at our disposal. I'll talk about this a little more later on. Sigils are really just representations of our intent, but they also serve as repositories of that intent. Think of them as little safe deposit boxes in which you keep your most precious thoughts and desires, safe from negative thoughts and self-sabotage. Sigils are customized works of craftsmanship designed to bring about a specific intent. This webinar will lead you through that process in 5 easy steps. Once you learn it, you can use it again and again to create sigils that meet your immediate needs. Sigils are also a practice in non-attachment, as the sigil itself is usually, but not always, destroyed or forgotten. It is reminiscent of a sand painting. It's meticulously created only to be destroyed. It is the creative act and not the end result that receives our energy. In this way, a sigil is also a work of art. It's unique to its creator, originating from the power of one's imagination and word. It is an entire statement of intent, compacted into a more potent single form. It's easy to create and it requires only a clear, unbending intent. I say only, but again, developing unbending intent is something that takes much effort and practice. It requires taking responsibility for our thoughts and our deeds, our emotions and experiences. While it is beyond the scope of this webinar to teach this, one way you can work on developing your intent includes simply setting goals and meeting them. They can be really small. Just don't let yourself off the hook. If you say, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes today, then don't let your head hit the pillow until you've done it. Honor your commitments, honor your word to yourself, and stay true to yourself. For those of you interested in developing your intent, I suggest you investigate the shamanic practice of recapitulation. It's one of the most powerful ways I know to cleanse your energy and hone your intent. Dream work is another field of practice that you might consider, as is anything physically demanding such as yoga or tensegrity that helps to focus the mind and body. Anything that requires discipline and focus can help you develop your intent. Next, we'll discuss the 5 steps to making a sigil. Okay, it's time to discuss how we make a sigil. May I suggest that the first step might be choosing some music that you can listen to through the sigil creation process. This is completely optional, but using music, especially music that is designed to enhance our awareness or bring in a positive energy, can really help support the process. Music can be a huge support, so have it playing in the background as you work. Just be really conscious of what you're choosing, and it's probably better if it doesn't have any lyrics unless it's a mantra, because you don't want the energy of the lyric to contaminate your intent. Sigils are meant to be precise and specific. Brevity is key. I'd like to share a story about a friend who wanted a blanket to put on an altar table. So she put it out there to the universe, and sure enough, the very next day on her doorstep, somebody had left several blankets. However, they were crocheted and they looked like somebody's grandma made them, and the colors were hideous. They didn't really fit her wish because she hadn't been clear enough about what she wanted. This kind of thing happens to us all the time. We need to really focus before we put our intent out there. It is what capturing essence is all about. So in creating our sigils, we first start with a sentence that captures that essence of what we want. The sentence has to be concise, using just enough words to express the meaning, but no more. It should also be created from positive statements. In other words, if your intent is to, for example, stop fighting with a loved one, then you wouldn't want that statement to be, I will not fight with my mother. Instead, you should phrase it positively, as in, I have peaceful relationships with my parents, or however. For this presentation, we will work with, I want to receive better guidance so I know what to do next. This statement doesn't quite capture the essence of the desire, so the first thing we have to do is alter it a little. It might therefore become, to be more concise, I receive clear guidance. In this way, we eliminated the ambiguity of better than what and the concept of one thing being better than another. We eliminate the idea of wanting, which implies lack of fulfillment. And finally, we lose the wordiness of so I know what to do next. We now have a clear statement, and that captures the essence of our desire. So take a moment to pause here and create your own statement of intent now. When you're ready, you can go on to step 2. Step 2, combining. This next step reminds me of simplifying algebraic statements, in which we combine like terms. But don't worry, it isn't nearly so complicated, it's simple. We just take out our statement and cross out any repeating letters. You can see from the slide that any letter appearing more than once is crossed out, and only the remaining letters become part of our new statement. So take the statement you created in step 1 and cross out any repeating letters. Rewrite what you have left as your new statement. You can see in the example below the statement of I receive clear guidance, the example of crossing out the repeated letters, and then the remaining intent. Pause here, and then we'll continue to step 3 when you're ready. Step 3, the glyph. In this next step, we're now ready to get artistic. We'll combine the remaining letters together, overlaying, overlapping, and linking them in the desired manner. You can see from the example that there are lots of possibilities. So rework it, refine it, and simplify it until you're completely satisfied with the result. It should be neither too simplistic nor overly complicated. Think elegance with visual appeal. Try several different designs until you hit upon one that resonates with your whole being. At this point, it becomes something much more and beyond the thought that created it. And as you work with it, your mind will be programming itself with the commands within, and the music that you have playing in the background will amplify this programming on multidimensional levels. Think of it as magnetizing yourself, expanding your magnetic field to draw in what you want. Drawing a shape around the final figure is an optional practice, a sort of protective shell or containment vessel, so play with that as well. And then once you have your final version, you're going to throw everything else away and just keep that version. So take time now, have some music playing, and get playful with your statement. When you're ready, we'll move on to step 4. Step 4, implanting. All right, you've got your sigil, and it's already being implanted in your subconscious. But let's talk more about ways of enhancing this. As we've already mentioned, use music. Well-chosen music will assist you in reaching a meditative state. And at that point, the sigil can be introduced to your deep mind. Spare used the phrase, quote, drink it into the mind, unquote. This is an excellent metaphor for the process, but don't stop there. The sigil is a power-packed frequency packet. Drink it into every cell of your being on every single dimension to which you currently have access. Meditate with this idea of the sigil becoming a part of you. You don't need to try here. As Spare also wrote, quote, the magician doesn't charge the sigil charges the magician, unquote. It isn't about doing per se or understanding or knowing if it is happening or not. Know it is happening. Don't obsess. Let the sigil work for you. For those of you who are frequently challenged by doubt, then try dancing, drumming, or some other mind-stopping physical exertion here as you work with your sigil. Another method shared by Spare is to write the sigil on a mirror and then practice gazing beyond the sigil to your image beneath it in the glass. I suggest we go on to step 5 now, and then you can spend some time applying the remaining steps when you're through. So we'll just continue. Step 5 is about letting it go. The effort has been made, the intent has been set. Now just forget and release the meaning of the sigil completely. Just offer it up. You can do this again with music, through reciting mantras, through dancing or drumming, all with the intent of releasing. Don't expend unnecessary energy for several hours after designing and implanting your sigil either. Give yourself time to receive and integrate the energy generated. Just return to everyday activity. You might even want to take a nice nap. In the days ahead, don't talk about it with others. Don't share it with anyone. Hold it close to you. Don't do any other meditations or return to thoughts of the sigil and its meaning. If they come up, fine, but don't dwell on them. There is some controversy over whether a sigil should be destroyed or not once it is charged and implanted. It's entirely up to you. I like to hang mine or place them in a wallet or drawer, while I will occasionally be reminded of my intent. This is not to say that I remember what the statement was that helped me create the sigil. It's best to forget that and let the sigil hold all the meaning away from the mind. So you're now ready to work with both steps 4 and 5. Pause here, and when you're ready, we'll go on to talk about mantric sigils. Mantric sigils are like verbal spells, something repeated over and over in order to generate a vibratory field, suffused with the energy of intent of the mantra. In the Unknown Mother, mantras are a 9th gate practice. However, they can be integrated with practices at all the other gates, such as this one. We've so far worked with sigils as written glyphs, but sigils can also take the form of a mantra. We won't go too deeply into the history and uses of mantra here, but we'll cover just enough so that you can use this method if it resonates with you. Our simplified example statement was, I receive clear guidance. We follow the same procedure of creating a statement of intent and eliminating duplicate letters. Next, the letters are rearranged in some random fashion. The idea is to obtain a series of nonsense words using the letters. So one possible combination of I receive clear guidance is seen on the slide. You can rearrange the letters into nonsense words, such as the second example, and then choose your favorite combination as your sigilized mantra. Now you're ready to charge and implant the sigil by chanting the mantra. You can do this by simply stating the phrase over and over again, or if you're musically inclined, you can sing it. You can use the mantra with your glyph or by itself. Some people will use the mantra once and then never use it again, but in my opinion, that kind of fails the whole point of a mantra, which is to surround yourself with a bubble of sound. I like to play with mine over time, creating melodies and even recording harmonies with them. Gradually, I forget the original meaning of the mantra as I continue to work with it. Once the impetus to do so passes, then I let the mantra go. So give it a whirl. Use your simplified statement of intent to create your own sigilized mantra. Ways to use your sigil. There are many ways to approach a sigil, limited only by your creativity, but I'll offer up some suggestions here now as inspiration. You can write it using colored sands and then let the wind or the sea sweep it away. You can create sculptured sigils out of clay and then pound them out of shape back into nothing. You can carve into a candle and watch it burn away when you light it, or carve it into a bar of soap and wash yourself with it as it dissolves from one plane of existence into another. You can write it in chalk on the sidewalk or write it in your body with some sort of non-toxic pen. You can write it on the mirror after a hot shower and let it evaporate. You can use invisible or disappearing ink. You can also return to listen to the music with which you created your sigil, as it now contains all that information regarding your intent. Pretty cool, huh? Using sigils responsibly. I hardly think I need to add this here, but a reminder never hurts. Sigils should never be used with malintent. The application of such magic should only be used with the highest of intentions. We never impose our will on the will of another. We merely co-create for the best of all involved. Nor do we want to override the will of higher intelligence. We leave space for something even better than we would have envisioned for ourselves, trusting in the greater good. Nor do sigils need to be employed solely for personal gain. Sigils can be created for the healing of our earth, for the purification of our food and water, for the atonement of great wrongs, and for the cultivation of qualities that can assist us on our path, such as forgiveness, balance, or compassion. The possibilities are really limitless. Enjoy your sigil making.